Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. So I've had this problem. I think it's probably related to this audio interface I have, because only ever when I have this audio interface plugged in for my microphone does that kind of crash happen. So I'm wondering if it's like an audio driver crash or something. I did update the drivers for it a couple months ago, so maybe I'll have to check into that again. But sometimes I'll be playing Arc Raiders with, you know, hooked in, and my computer will just go, oops, ran into a problem, shutting down. But that has only ever happened while I've had the microphone plugged in. And so I thought it would only happen like during Arc Raiders, because that's the only time I've ever seen it happen too. But it just happened there, like my screen flickered and then the whole PC locked up. So I don't know if it's this audio interface. I don't really know how to debug it. I guess I can go into the Windows event viewer, but I remember doing that previously, and that wasn't necessarily like very helpful. What happens if I do this? Extend myself. I'm just kind of like, oh, that's nice. I like that. I just got like sidetracked here for a second. That's nice. Anyway, welcome back to the stream again. It's time for game dev once again, yes. Yeah, that was crazy. I hope that doesn't happen again. I gotta figure that out. Did I lose all my loot? No, fortunately with Arc Raiders, it's a little bit more forgiving than a YouTube stream. So as long as you're like in a safe place when you disconnect, you can reconnect and just resume back at that spot. So of all the times I've crashed into Arc Raiders, knock on wood, I was always in a spot where no one ever found me in the, 3 or 4 minutes it took me to reconnect. And it's never crashed close enough to the timer running out that I lost because the round ended. So I've been lucky in that respect, but ain't nothing like a little bit of Russian roulette when you're playing video games. Like, is my computer going to crash during this fight or not? It's kind of annoying, but I'm going to have to investigate to see if there's more driver updates or anything. Finally caught the beginning of a stream. Well, yeah, this is not the beginning. I'm recovering from a crash that just happened on my PC. We were already streaming for like an hour and some minutes, so you're in the second half of the stream, but it's the beginning of the new stream, I guess. So anyway, that's kind of annoying. Boom, we're back, yeah. Dang it, I had 40 viewers too. No, my numbers, no. My numbers. I knew that this game would crash the reality matrix, yeah. Welcome, Raphael. All right, let's continue on. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like I corrupted anything or lost any progress. So that's nice. Anyway, back at it again. So now these tags, so now I can search by minion or alchemical. Now, maybe it would be a good idea to add a checkbox to make that work so I can select all tags. So maybe I'll do a checkbox here. And I also don't like the fact that this tag list is not full size. So I'm just going to go ahead and expand this just so it can show everything at once. And then this checkbox here, we're going to do the same thing, theme overrides. Styles, new style box flat, new style box flat. Nope, not line, flat. Oops, that's the wrong thing. We're breaking my palette rule for the tool. That's okay, it would be a waste of time to make this all look visually pretty. Okay, text, exact tag match. Let's just call it exact tags. That'll work. Public bool require exact tags get set. Okay, and here we're going to do check exact tags checkbox. Exact tags checkbox.press is equal to filter options require exact tags or dot. What is the property to turn it on? Button pressed. That is not a great property name. That makes it sound like a signal name. Anyway, button pressed does it require exact tags? Okay, so then we want to do. What do I need to use a special signal for this? No, just pressed. Okay. Exact tags checkbox dot pressed is equal to or plus equals on exact tags checkbox pressed. Private void on exact tags checkbox pressed. Require exact tags button pressed. Apply filters, current filter options. Okay. This is one of those situations where I was talking about earlier where I'm just going to, instead of being fancy, I'm just going to do if car definitions dot equals 0 and not require exact tags continue. If filter options require exact tags, I guess I can move this out in the front for consistency. So I'm sure I could have like merged that into like one if statement here, but this is much cleaner, right? So we just separate out the cases themselves, and this is redundant too, continue. If you wanted to be really clever, you could probably merge this all into one if statement here, but that would not be very readable compared to this, right? So yeah, anyway, let's see what that does. It broke. Oh, I forgot to mark this as unique name. 3 streams in one day. Yeah, I envy your work ethic. So relic and exact tags. Right, so exact tags when pressed here. Why is that? Hold on, I gotta fix that. So now when I do exact tags, all of the tags have to match. Oops. So if I do this, so I can filter by minions and reagents here, and that will give me all of the minions and reagents. So there's a reagent there. But if I said I want exact tags, there's none. But if I uncheck minion, there's all my reagents. Relic, there's all my cards that have just the relic tag, and I can filter by ally. So there's 3 player cards that only have the relic tag. However, if I remove exact tags, we have a bunch of cards that have more than the relic tag here. So that's super helpful. So that allows me to drill down so I could see what has relic and ritual and weapon. Oh, look at that. The Grimoire is the only card with relic, ritual, and weapon from the player, but let's check the enemy side. Boom, nothing. Okay. So this is going to be easy to figure out, I think. Now, the one thing that I need to do is probably, this is not applying any difference. So I probably, if I wanted to make this a little bit more sophisticated, I could check when a filter is going to be applied that would actually change the results and only reload the board after that. But as it stands right now, every time I modify a filter option, I'm calling this apply filters here, and that's recreating the entire board and reinstantiating all the cards. The other thing that I could do, instead of reinstantiating all the cards, is I could just remove them from the board, remove them from the tree, and hold on to them in memory, and just, instead of reinstantiating them all the time, I could just do that. Now, I actually don't know if that's going to improve performance all that much, but there are options here. So, but I will say the tool is not like, it's not so slow. Well, maybe it is. All right, maybe we will try to do some little bit of optimization here. So one obvious thing is to not recreate the cards every time. So let's do that. Update card inspection tool. Breaking your palette rule. Where's the unsubscribe button? Yeah. Boom, nothing. Yeah. Can you add an option to filter for at least the selected tags? At least the selected tags. So, oh, I see. So instead of exact, if I selected minion and alchemical, it would select all cards that have at least the minion and alchemical, but they could have more. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. I don't know if that's going to be useful just yet. But yeah, that would certainly be useful at some point in the future for sure. I actually don't know how I would do that. How would I do that? I guess it would just be a modification of this, checking if it's greater than 0, right? No, that would be... I actually don't know how I would do that with a bitwise operator. Might be difficult with bit operations. Yeah, I think it might not be possible with bit operations. I could be wrong, but I think if I had that filter, what I would do is I would just manually check. Like I would just take this card definition tags and do has flag and make sure that's true for every tag that's selected. I think that's the only way to do it, as I would actually have to check each tag individually to see if it exists in the card tag list. Which would be fine. That would be, I don't think I'd be able to use a Boolean here though. This would have to probably be a different like multi-filter option, I think. I don't know. Certainly possible, but we can add that later. Right now I'm gonna focus on making this a little bit nicer. So I'm just gonna do this. Private base card all cards. All cards equals all registry RLID, create card. What? Okay. So we're storing all the base cards here. I think as soon as I create a card node, Yeah, so as soon as I create the card node the first time, it will work. Okay, so anyway, so we've got all of our base cards here. So when we apply filters, what we'll do is instead of, we'll just do, let me think. Card node. So let's do var card node is equal to card.card node. We're gonna do card node.get parent dot remove child card node, and then we're gonna do clear board. So that works. So we're going to remove the card from the tree. And then instead of reinstantiating all of these things, what we can do is we can do card IDs. So we're going to filter down the IDs. Oh, do I need this to be a dictionary? Maybe this needs to be a dictionary. Dictionary, string, base card, all cards. We'll just let the AI do this for me. Oh, this is a read-only field. Oops. Okay. Anyway. Actually, I think this can just be... Can this just be put up here? Yeah, look at that. Okay. So we go down here. We're going to get the card node out of that. Okay, so yeah, down in here, card IDs. So now we've got the var base card is equal to all card IDs card ID. Base card dot card definition resource. Continue. We don't need to create the card anymore, and we can just place the base card on the board. So hopefully that will make it a little bit snappier because we're not recreating those card nodes every time. It didn't work. Base card 826. I didn't even know there were 826 lines in here. Okay, maybe I should do this in the ready method then. I think this is trying to do things before all the dependencies are set up. So we won't be fancy. We'll just set all cards in here equal to that. Okay, so now if I do minion, okay, that seems to be a little bit faster. There's still a little bit of lag, a little bit of hitching when I select these things, but it's much faster for sure. So yeah, that'll work just fine. So I want to make it so that if I select none, or if none is selected, that removes that option, although I guess that's not super important. That's much snappier though, for sure. So that's not a problem. I think one thing that's probably a problem is that the tile map is triggering updates every time. I wonder if this is going to be an easy fix. I think the tile map is redrawing itself every time the board updates. Update tile map visuals. Where's this called? On grid changed update. Yeah. So I think this grid change signal is being emitted all the time. So let's just do this. Print grid changed. I bet you all see like maybe even hundreds of these. Maybe not hundreds, but dozens at least. So I can probably fix that up too. Yeah, look at that. So every time this grid change signal is emitted, the tile map is clearing itself and redrawing. So I think the easy thing, there's an easy win here, which will also benefit the game, even if it's in a slight way, is we could debounce. We can debounce this grid changed here. So if, let's just do like a Boolean here. Private bool is updating grid. So in here, if is updating grid, return. And then what we'll do is we'll do callable.from, do all these things. And then we'll say is updating grid equals false. We'll do call deferred. And then in here we can say is updating grid equals true. So now if I do this, gd.print grid update, I should only see this like maybe once or twice. Let's see what that does. Yeah, so one grid update now instead of all of those. And, you know, I can't really tell if that's making much of a difference, but it certainly is saving some effort because it's not redrawing that grid every time. Grid update. I'll obviously have to make sure that works in game, but I'm pretty sure that's fine. Because I could get multiple grid changed updates in a single go, because every time a card gets removed or placed on the grid, that grid update signal fires. And if I'm placing a bunch of cards on the grid all as part of like one process, like placing, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 cards all at once, that's going to trigger the tile map to redraw multiple times. So that is definitely preferable. So yeah, that'll work. And just a little bit of a easy win there. Not sure it's going to make much of a difference, but your background is gone. Did you get transferred into your computer screen? Yeah. Got transferred into my computer screen. Do you like it? I think it's good. Oh, hold on. I always get confused about the ordering here. There we go. All right. There we go. I'm not going to lie, I'm still trying to figure out how the game works. I haven't played any games like that one. Oh, really? You're talking about Alchemortis? I think I need to do a better job on player education still. I think, though, that the tutorial, the new in-game tutorial helps a lot, but certainly more to do there. So, yeah. I just don't, like... The problem is, like, I don't want to lose players on, like, a very, like, detailed, complicated tutorial either. So it's like, how do I strike the balance between giving players enough information to get started and not boring the players to death in a tutorial that just drags on and on and on, right? But on the flip side, if the tutorial is too thin and the player goes into the game and they don't know what's happening, that's also a problem, right? So it's like, I think somebody suggested like you could introduce new concepts as the player encounters them for the first time during the game. And I think I may actually need to do something like that instead. And truthfully, I may just end up ripping out that entire tutorial and just moving to that system and just like sort of storing the state about like what players have encountered. So like the first time you go into a game, the tutorial guide comes in and says, hey, put the cards on your board and then move to one of these things and so on and so forth. And then the first time you go into combat, it's like, here's how you start combat, right? It's like the first time you get some cards, it tells you, here's the alchemy system. And then when you do alchemy a couple of times, maybe he pops in and says, hey, you have some alchemical residue now, so here's your board unlocks, right? And then as your notoriety approaches like 80 or whatever, it goes, hey, by the way, your notoriety is going up, the boss is coming soon. And so like the player can be educated at the same time that they're playing the game. I think somebody suggested that back when I was working on the tutorial, but that is definitely going to be a lot of work. But I have like the tutorial systems in place. Like I have that tutorial guide character. So it would just be a matter of reworking all the logic to work in an actual run. And the other problem is it's not as controllable, right? So if the player is going to be educated when they go into a real run for the first time, I'm going to have to make sure to handle like more of the cases. So anyway, I think there's definitely work I can do there. But I may end up having to rework the tutorial to make it more of like an in-game, like you go into the game for the first time and it's like, hey, would you like me to give you tutorial hints or whatever? And just expose players to new concepts as they discover them. I don't know. Now I see a board with every card in the game works in a fight. It should. I mean, there's nothing fundamentally that wouldn't work here. This is all like, I mean, you see how I can highlight this cat? Deal 4 damage per allied ritual card. Well, look at that. It's highlighting every single ritual card on the board. So it would definitely work. It would be massive, but searching by name would likely be useful. Yes. Yes, it would. Do we want to add that next? You could do little tooltips along a mini tutorial level with each sort of sub-level. Yeah, that could work too. I'm struggling with the tutorial thing on my game at the moment. I've had a player unfamiliar with the genre buy the game today, and they asked how to do every single thing despite it being explained. Yeah, tutorials are, I mean, they're hard. Like, there's those, it seems like it would be easy to do it, but it's actually really hard because if you put too much text in front of the player, they're not going to read it, right? If you put a little, like, hotkey hint in the corner of the screen, the player might not see it ever. If the tutorial is too long, the player might just start mashing buttons to get through it, or they might just quit the menu and skip the tutorial. So it's like, it's actually a really hard thing to do, to onboard players onto a new game, especially if the game is like, look, if you onboard into a first-person shooter, pretty much everyone who's played a video game has played a first-person shooter before, so like you don't really need to explain the controls in that case. You don't need to explain like, hey, your gun's in the middle of the screen and you press the mouse button to shoot. But for a game that's like more strategy-oriented, where the game has like a very specific rule set that's similar to other games for sure, but it doesn't work quite the same, then it's a real challenge to like figure out how to get players to understand what's going on. This is a nice way of just getting an overview of my art too. Like I'm looking at Malva's Burning here, and I think that these colors in here look a little bit too flat, so I may go in and just add some. Although maybe that's okay because this is supposed to be on fire, so I don't know, we'll see. This is a great way to get an overview of my art though and just identify things that look inconsistent. Like I think the Abomination needs some work. I think the Ancient Coin needs to be redrawn. I'm still not happy with the Ceremonial Dagger. I don't know why. Death Orchid looks a little awkward. I might redo that one as well. Most of these look pretty good. I think the Lamb could use some work potentially. I love the Field Mouse. He's so cute. Mandrake looks a little awkward. I might redraw that one. The Orbital class is just kind of weird generally. I don't know. Might have to rework that one too. Phoenix is not getting touched. I think the Phoenix is good. The Rusty Spoon looks pretty good too. I like the Skeleton Mage. Scarab still looks a little bit weird. I might update that one. Salamander has a weird face. I think the Skull Tower looks weird too. Slime could probably use some love. Snail Cat's perfect. I think most of these are okay. It's just, I think the Windmill needs some work too. Trumpet probably too. The Battle Trumpet looks a little awkward. But yeah, generally I think they're looking all good. Anyway, this tool is already useful. Look at that. Ritual exact tags. What was I going to do? Text filtering? Oh, somebody wanted me to, I think it was Ninja Link, to export a CSV. How easy would that be? Does Godot have 2 CSV stuff? Well, firstly, let's do performance improvements. Okay. All right. Just-in-time tutorials, yeah. Hello, Happy Slice. Iterating on new player experience and UX in general is by far my least favorite part of developing my game. Yeah, fortunately I have to admit, it shows. Yeah, there are some parts of game development that are just not fun no matter what you do. The best tutorials are the ones that just explain the controls and then teach the mechanics along the way. Of course, this is very hard for in-depth strategy games. I work in VR and no one ever reads, yeah. People will just also plain forget things that they knew at one point. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm guilty of that. Like, even one of my favorite games right now, Arc Raiders, like, there was stuff that I'm sure was pointed out in the tutorial that I didn't figure out until like 5 hours into the game. So it's definitely true. Like, even me, I play video games. I'm not new to video games. I'm not new to competitive shooters. And there were still things that I missed in this new game that I didn't figure out for like 5 or 10 hours, you know? But I think, again, it goes back to the idea that I think a certain amount of that is okay, because there actually is quite a bit of enjoyment in figuring out how the game works. Like, figuring out a mechanic that wasn't necessarily explicitly explained to you can be really fun too. But you definitely can't like hide core mechanics behind that kind of discovery, you know what I mean? It's like the little things that you discover are fine, but if you just straight up don't know how to play the game, then yeah, that's a problem. Had that problem where people would not find a flashing button they had to press. It's while looking at it happening and not interfering, yeah. Yep, I've seen that for sure. I'm sure I've been the one doing that at some point. In my games, I basically never do tutorials since players should already know how to move around a 2D platform or whatever. Yeah, that's true too. Do you think a library similar to this tool would be useful as part of the game? I do want to do like an encyclopedia, codex, whatever you want to call it, where I do a deep, like, first of all, I want you to be able to like unlock cards in your codex so you can like revisit all the enemy cards. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it would just be fun to go in and look at all the art and stuff. But number two, like, there's flavor text there, which is kind of like world building stuff. And also just being able to look at, like, inspect the abilities, before a run, just so you can like familiarize yourself with certain cards. Yeah, I think it would be, I want to do an encyclopedia that just like, it has all the content you've discovered, it has all the abilities you've discovered, and also explaining more of the mechanics in depth. Like, I actually want to, in the encyclopedia, like, I want to explain in very like good detail how the ability execution order works, how certain combinations of abilities work together. Like, for the players that really want to dig into like how the game works, I want to make that information available to them so that if you're so inclined, you can use that intimate knowledge of the game to like min-max your build. I definitely don't want to make it required, but things like what order do cards execute in, and like what happens if two cards execute at the same time, what order do they execute in, and like what order do the artifact abilities execute in and the enchant abilities execute in, and like how does this specific interaction work between these two abilities, I would love to do something like that for sure. I mentioned a raccoon character, and I was thinking about it more, and I noticed since you kind of have more mythical character set, you can instead look to that tanuki for one. It's a god of mischief, I believe, in Japanese culture. Yeah, I think I mentioned this before, but I want, so the shop, I'll just repeat it again, sorry to everyone that has heard it already, but the shopkeeper has a very like Eastern, more like, like Persian or Middle Eastern vibe. But, the idea is that he's a trader from like an exotic land or whatever. And I think it would be good to have opportunities where he offers cards that you can't get during the normal course of the game. So that would be a good opportunity to pull in like mythical figures from Eastern cultures, right? So like these like Japanese demons or like Arabic, folkloric creatures or whatever. And then have that just available at the shopkeeper. And then so you've got kind of like your like Western European influenced myths, right? And mythical creatures and like, fantastical creatures. But then you've got the other myths from around the world coming into the game through the shopkeeper. I think that'd be really cool. Send it to the shop pool. Want to play Arc Raiders? Yeah. I disappeared. What happened? Oh, yeah, I turned off my camera for a sec. Is this the working on tool stream? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. I was going to look at CSV next. Yeah, So there's a lot of stuff that I want to do with this game for sure. Get CSV line, store CSV line. Values packed delim string. Okay. So let's see if I can do this. Export CSV. Let's add an export CSV button. I'll probably just do that as like a separate thing up here. Layout. Actually, I guess this doesn't need to be a margin container. Hbox container. Add child node button. But. Can't spell button without but. Button export CSV. And this will take the current filters into account. Export CSV button. Layout. Am I missing something? Where's the theme overrides for this button? Oh, I'm on the wrong node, that's why. Styles, new style box, flat. We'll just leave the button ugly, it's fine. Okay. I might want to put the card dimensions in here too, but let's just let's do this. Card ID, name, faction, tags, get cards on board. Yep. Base card definition resource dot. Why are these? Okay, anyway. Name. We'll just do that. And then we want to do... Oh no. I guess I'll just trust the AI to put that in the... to put that in the header properly. CSV content, no, we don't need to do that. Using var file is equal to file access dot open res logs cards.csv. File access mode's right. And then we're going to do, what was it? CSV, store CSV line. Line and CSV lines, file.store. Maybe I don't want to do store CSV line. Oh, because it has multiple values. Oh, so I didn't want to join these, I don't think. Let's do a string array. We'll just use the built-in Godot CSV. Can I do this? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Why did that do that? This dang AI. I don't think I need to do this file close there, but that's all right. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm planning on using my battle log to be able to record what things happened in what order, like a timestamp and stuff. Yeah, that's a good idea, especially if you need it for debugging purposes. I love working on tools. Yeah, tools can be fun. The AI is griefing you. Welcome back, Nick, by the way. Good to see you. All right, so this is all cards with all tags. And so let's export CSV. I have no idea if that worked. Let's go see. Logs, cards.csv. Look at that. So I think, obviously, I probably want to sort this by... I want to sort this by probably card ID or maybe name. I guess if people are going to get this CSV, you could do your own sorting on it, but let's just do a sensible default sort, I suppose. Get cards on board dot order by x.card definition resource dot id. Let's try that. And also, I think this should overwrite. This should overwrite the file, I think, but let's see. Export CSV. Go back. Can I just do cards? There we go. Aberration, Abomination, Acolyte. That looks reasonable. Crossbow, Cultist. Yeah, I think that's sorted properly. Cool. So I've got 132 cards. Does that align with what I've got here? Card statistics tool. That's 130. What are the extra 2 cards? Do I have is the training dummy on here? Maybe the training dummy is on here. Training dummy in God mode. Let's see. Oh, wait. Did I just count wrong? So obviously the headers don't count. So that's 131. Oh, it's including God mode. Should God mode be in there? Is that going to break if I don't? Where am I using all IDs at? I think I probably should exclude that. Because I am excluding the training dummy here. Okay, let's do that. I don't want God mode to be in there for sure. It wasn't possible for my enemy board generator. No, it wasn't possible for that to load in the God mode. That would suck. Okay, so there should be 131 minus the header line. Yeah, I think that works. Cool. We've got all the cards listed as in a CSV file. Hey, green screen, yeah. It's not technically a green screen, but CSV was already ordered, I think, because your cards on the board were already ordered. No, so the card order on the board can sometimes be alphabetical, but sometimes it won't be because of how the board placement algorithm works. So if I look at, like, if I just look at this, we've got Aberration, Acolyte. So these are generally ordered, but you can see that the Beast Claw is here and Marshall Holt is here. So there's an M card right here, right up near the A's and B's. And that's just how the board placement algorithm works, because it's trying to find the next best place for the card. It's not trying to preserve the order. So yeah, it won't be ordered necessarily. So I did need to do the separate ordering. Imagine you were doing a road and God mode just shows up. Yeah, that would suck. No, it was never possible for God mode to show up in game. And I would have seen it by now if it was possible. But I'm just going to exclude that from there just to be extra sure. Add export CSV. Not a green screen, he deleted the space around him, yeah. Do you like it though? Is the setup better? I think it is. I think it is. I'll modify it a little bit so my head doesn't get cut off like this. I think I just need to raise my camera. Anyway, that's going to be it for the stream. I will drop the CSV into the Discord. So for anyone, I think Ninja Link specifically requested this, but if anyone else wants to just, I don't know, do whatever you want with the CSV, that's totally fine. And so I'll put that on the Discord, but that'll be it for the stream today. And yeah, you can see what's on screen better. Excellent. Amazing stream. You like it? Good. I swear when you first pulled up the CSV, it was ordered, even though you didn't specifically order yet. Just not sure if you actually verified. Yeah, we can just do a verification. I'm pretty sure it's fine, but let's just delete this. And we'll go in here. I think when you open up a file for writing, it overwrites all the files. Like it doesn't append by default, or it overwrites all the lines, I mean. So I deleted the CSV file and it's back here. Yeah, we should be good. Cool. Anyway, thanks again, everybody. Again, the Alchemortis playtest is available for Patreon members right now. So first of all, please wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. But also, if you're interested, you can go to the Patreon. As soon as you sign up on Patreon, you will get a Steam key sent to you for the Alchemortis playtest. And again, you do not need to pay to get access to the playtest. Starting a week from today, the playtest will be available for anyone that wants to try it. And that will be available from the Steam page. But for this next week, it's just going to be Patreon members only. So I would definitely appreciate it if you could subscribe, and everyone who is already a subscriber should have gotten a Steam key in your inbox. So definitely let me know if you didn't get your key when you should have, but I think it's working all right. And yeah, appreciate the support, everybody. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. It was a lot of fun. And if I may ask, will you ever do a stream to look at subscribers' games? Kind of learn Godot from you. I'd love to show my project. I have a code review series, which I haven't done in a while, which you can submit your project to, but maybe a stream where we look at viewer games would be fun sometime, but I can't commit to doing that at the moment, but that would be fun for sure. But definitely join the Discord and you can throw the idea there or bug me about it every so often if you so choose. Anyway, that's it for the stream. Thank you, everyone, and I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, bye-bye.